They was talking about the wages and that there was a bit of something going on. We didn't take a lot of notice at the time. And it come as we was at work one day and we'd been talking about it, and in walked Mary McCarthy, and she came strutting in the shop, and the boss was in. He was more times out than in, and he was a great big man, massive, and she says, out, out. We all looked at her. Of course, we felt a bit frightened. I think I was about 16 then. And he says, we looked at him. Instead of looking at her, we looked at him as much as to say he's boss. He says, you might as well get out, he says. I means it. And out we came.
Rouse you women, rouse around you. Towns and cities cry, Godspeed you. Rouse, shake off the fears that bound you. Women, rouse, be true. At length the light is breaking. The sweat and stone is shaking. Oh, do your part with all your heart.
My first glimpse of Cradley Heath was on a dark November afternoon. The train stopped just outside the station, as it had a perverse habit of doing, and from the window of the carriage I looked down on a long, low shed. The iron grating which served as windows, the red glow of the forge fires, and the dim shadows of the toiling workers made me think of some torture chamber of the Middle Ages. Later, when I knew more of the life and labour of the district, that first fleeting impression returned and has never quite left me since.
Well, everybody else seemed to be making it. I thought I'd like a go. There was nothing else, really. If you went to service, you was a prisoner. You'd never let you out much.
Well, I was about 12 when I started to make chain first. I had to stand on 4 bricks. I was tall enough to reach the block, you know.
When I first made chain, well, learned to make it, I was 11.
There was nothing else. No babies to marry. I couldn't go out and nursing babies because I couldn't pay you. You got to make chain.
My mother learned us. She used to have the people in to work for her. She got the work up. She got the work up and worked for Sykes's and Willits's up. Big factories, you know.
I used to get the bends off the iron and straighten them and cut it and shut links.
1905, that's when I started to work in the make chain. 1905. And I had £0.50 a week. From Monday morning, 7 o'clock, till 7 o'clock at night, till 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. £0.50 a week. That's we had to go errands and couple the chains and put them together and learn to make it in between. We weren't long many weeks learning though.
Oh, well, I had nothing when I was 11. We'd got to learn when we used to spoil a lot of iron, burn it or, you know, not get it just right, but when we got it all right, we had to make chain, but we'd got to learn to make it. We had to learn to make it. And when I got married, I used to make 300 weight a week, a bare sevens, £0.50 100
The Woodhouse's brothers, they used to employ the women to make chain in the chain factory. But most of the chain was made by hat workers. And they used to go and fetch a bundle of iron, and the women used to carry it on their shoulders and bring it home. And they used to climb the Cradley Hill, and it was a big hill. And there was one woman on her, what was her name? I just forget. Well, anyhow, she wasn't a very big one, but raw bone. And she used to get a bundle of iron on her back and carry it up cradle like a man. And then when she'd made her iron, they used to have a dobbin. A square dobbin with 2 wheels on. And that's how they used to take the chain away, as they called it. And take it, and then when they got there, they sometimes got twisted.
I fetched my own many a time. I remember a man stopping me one day with his cart. He says, "What brings you doing that?" I didn't know him. I says, "Well, I've got to get my living, haven't I, honest?" He says, "Well, it isn't a job for you to do. You haven't how to do that. You just got off the tools and the pair of blowbells. Didn't have the blast then, not to the women. And we used to get the steel off in the fire. And then we got the tools to shape it. We used to have to shut it on then. There was a piece of steel with a point on. We used to shut it on that. They called them beacons.
We'd put the iron in the fire. We'd pull this one out, put it on there and cut about that much off, see, and got the tongues and held it and doubled it over like that and held it like that. And then we knocked that and that together. Then we'd got to put it in the fire again. And then when it was hot, you got to mind that it didn't burn off, you got to have it just right, and then you'd bring it onto the anvil, and then we used to knock it together, you know, weld it. We used to weld it.
I used to make what they call country work. That was all the chains that the farmers used on the ploughs and different things in the fields. And when there was horses, of course, they got to have all tackle on them. They used to make with the short chains and the long ones, you know. They used to reach from the harness to the carts and hook on.
That's how that is, summer. Ay, God, she was a typical chainmaker, woman chainmaker. Well, she got the statue of a man, really, what we call it was a monument. And I could knock out, what's the where I could be there cutting and joining up the link and then turning it over, putting it into the fire, and then had it come with the summer bump back, and about 4 or 5. And they knew from practice every blow was true. And when that link was made, it was as pretty as a picture. Down it would go, same over and over again. Piece of iron would come out in what they call the yard, cut it off and then bend it over on the stiddy, as they called it. That's the old name for anvil. A little stiddy. And they used to bend it round in a U shape, pick it up with the tongues, join up and on the bickern again, round and round, and into the fire. Now that was 12 hours a day like that, same thing over and over again. And sweat used to come off the roses.
It was heavy work, but I really was pretty good at it, although I could have done without it. It used to, of course, make your hands hard, you know. I was always ashamed of my hands. Well, holding tongs and hammers, it disfigured your hands. You used to get burnt sometimes, the fleshes, when you was working, and you took no notice. Mind you, to put some blister on you every time. It caused you to have hands that was not nice.
This is my umber on, look, you see that knottle? Look at it. My umber on that either. The children saying, "What's that, Gran? Look at your hand, it is funny." I says, "My umber on." I don't know what I mean in that.
Women went blind when they were young, and the faces, most of them, emaciated, you know, thin, haggard looking. I've got a Cradley Parish magazine compiled in the year before the strike, and looking through the burial pages, every month there's a big list of chainmakers' children that were only a few weeks old. Month after month it was the same. So the infantile mortality must have been very great in them days. You take a woman, she'd have a child, and then 4 days after, in the basket it'd go with a piece of flannel around it, and she was making chain with the baby by the side under the anvil. So what can you expect?
I used to go down to my mother's to work, and I used to take one. 12 months after, I used to take another. I had 2 in 12 months and 5 days. And I used to put them on a block where I worked, on a wooden thing they both got to sit in, when they was awake, but when they wasn't awake, Mother used to have them in the house.
They had a swing fastened in the shop from the beam, you know. Well, in most shops, it got the boiler where they had to boil the clothes, and there was a sink here and a tap, and they had to come out of the house across a yard about like and wash them in there. There was no bathrooms.
I used to get up in the morning and go in the shop, work about 2 rods, come out, get them ready for school, give them the breakfast, send them to school, and go back again. Then I should come back and put the potatoes on, as I said before. When I come back, they prepped ball dry or all the way to ball later or something, and got time to go and see if they're not cooking proper, like, not them days.
What does this mean? Take one chain, chosen at random, number 6 coil. The manufacturers themselves estimate that to earn 10 shillings a week on this chain, a worker must weld over 5,000 links. Each link requires at least 10 blows from the hammer. A week's work means, then, more than 50,000 blows. And then the bellows must be blown, the forge attended to, the iron rods lifted. The iron must be carried from warehouse to workshop, and the finished chain carried back again. And for this the women ask 10 shillings. To many of them that spells riches.
The Royal Commission got to work in 1889. That was the springboard from 1889. That was the springboard. But look how many years it took the Royal Commission and the Board of Trade to be fixed up, to fix the price. 1910 from 1889.
Little wonder that the chain-making trade was chosen as the first trade to have minimum wages fixed by law. For 7 months, employers and workers' representatives have sat with Board of Trade appointed members to fix a minimum wage. On May 17th, notice was given of the rates proposed to be fixed for the hammered section of the chain trade. During 3 months, objections were heard, and on August 17th, final notice was given. From that date, the women were legally entitled to the new rates, an increase from 50% to 150% unless they signed an agreement to the contrary. This the Act allows for a further 6 months. Many of the women can neither write nor read, and quite a number of them innocently fixed their marks to the petition, as they called it, submitted by their employers. Great was their indignation when they discovered once again that the long-hoped-for benefits were to be postponed. Ever since the trade was scheduled, the women have been working at high pressure. Huge stocks have been accumulated against the anticipated increase of wages, and another 6 months' work at the old rate would mean little or no work at all when the new rates come finally and fully into force.
The chainmasters come along with their fine agreement. They asked we all to sign we names for taking lower payment. Then the union come along, said, "Don't you want your price?" So we said we done. They didn't have to ask the question twice. So
The Trade Board had fixed the price. Well, there's a buffer period allowed for the gaffers to complete their contracts, and then at a certain date this operated the new price. But during that buffer period they got the women, foolish women, to sign for the old price. That was, I think, about a penny farther an hour, just way that, 12 hours a day, just over a shilling a day.
They were about to have a strike, and I think they were sent up to London to collect on the streets. There was 12 of them. I've tried to get in touch with if there was one left, and there was one just passed away that went down Woodfield Avenue, just passed away. Well, I didn't go. My dad wouldn't let me go. They got scarves round here, you know, and what was on was they'd come out collecting for the poor chainmakers of Cradley Heath and Old Hill. That was what it was. Well, when the police saw them, and that. They thought they were suffragettes, and they jailed them. And they were in jail all night, and they got in touch with the head workers, and when they knew, they were treated like ladies. They had a lovely breakfast, and they did wonders with the collection.
Last night a neighbour called me in. One of my old boyfriends had come from Canada, and he's 78. He was 12 years old, but he can remember it. And I asked him about it. He says, I says, can you all remember the 1910 women's strike, chain strike? He says, can I be in what was he said? He says, there was one damn good woman, he says, I don't know her name, he said, but she said, if the women will lay down their hammers, I'll pay them till the strike's over. I said, who was that? He said, I don't know. I said, well, I'll tell you, it was Mary MacArthur.
Strike, 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 a blow for freedom every time. Cast your chains away from you upon the ground. Strike, 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 a blow for freedom every time as you go marching round. Now come along and join the Union. Don't let us have to ask you twice. Now come along and join the Union, all fighting for our prize.
We came out. Then the next morning we had Mary MacArthur called a meeting in Cradley Heath Theatre. And then we had Sir Edward Cadbury down. He gave a good donation to the start for the strike, because we'd got nothing coming. There was nothing for us to pick up. We'd paid no union ever, and we didn't pay insurance even then.
I said it was too late to do anything. It was Friday, left to wait till Monday. Now can you see? Well then on the Saturday, when we take the money in, we see those over the union. And of course I told them my message and that, and they told me their message. And he says, well, the best thing to do is to call them out on strike. But there was a lot of them out on strike. How they got to know, I can't tell you. But all those that paid me union, I went to all their homes, and they were nearly all out on strike.
Miss MacArthur gave us a box apiece. We had to go and stand by the station, me and another. She posted us somewhere else, different works. And there was quite a few collectors. And then, of course, after that, we had another meeting down in the Institute, what they'd built. We had Miss Varley down, she came, no. Miss Stocks, she gave us 4 shillings a week. What had been collected and the money that had come in, she paid us 4 shillings strike pay. And then we was out for about a month. The men didn't take much notice. They know the women would get on a rattle.
Dear Sir, we earnestly appeal to trade unionists throughout the country on behalf of the women chainmakers of Cradley Heath, now locked out for refusing to sign an agreement to work for 6 months at lower rates than the minimum, 2.5 halfpenny an hour, fixed by the Trade Board. In another 6 months, contracting out will be illegal. But in the meantime, huge stocks can be accumulated in anticipation of the compulsory rate. Despite the low earnings of these women, 4 shillings to 5 shillings weekly, a number of them are members of the National Federation of Women Workers and will be entitled to strike benefit. It is, however, absolutely necessary that some measure of support should be extended to those who up to now are not members of any organisation. Some 200 of these women have up to now stood by their fellow workers in resisting the agreement, but their condition is pitiable in the extreme. A fund has been opened, to which we trust your society will contribute as generously as it can afford. We are, yours faithfully, on behalf of the Women's Trade Union League, Gertrude Tuckwell, D.J. Shackleton, Mary MacArthur.
I'll tell you where they used to hold a lot of the meeting, where the Workers' Institute is now. And it was on what we call Lowertown Bunk. Lowertown Bunk, well, it was a pit bank at that time, but it's been removed now, all the spoil from it. But anyhow, that's where they used to hold the meetings, and she could hold them, I tell you, and everybody was beyond the Chainmakers.
Yes, we used to walk, have meetings down on the fields and round about. She walked us about a lot, but we got through all right.
Well, yes, I can remember women walking about with chains hanging around their necks and placards on the chest. Some of them got placards, ignorance, disgrace, help in the fight for tuppence halfpenny an hour. And half on them and wearing their husbands' caps with a hat pin stuck through it and a shawl over that was the workaday attire at that one time.
They marched all round behind the bend, and they sang a song, Miss MacArthur and the Union. We will stand by the side, and they got flags waving. Yes, that's true. And I'm not sure, but I think the Salvation Army joined them once.
All the school children and the Chainmakers children, they joined up in gangs. They used to, at night time, when they come from school, they sing this, the women Chainmakers are on a big strike. The gaffers think they can do what they like. They work very hard by night and by day, and for it they get a rotten pay. Ollie-o, the gaffers and that day or die.
Mary MacArthur learned me one, but I've really forgot it, but I know it was something we'll fight a right good fight, because we're fighting for our rights, for our pay. And how it ended up with that. That's all I remember of that.
Miss MacArthur and the Union, we will stand by your side. And then la 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 till the devils all wake at night.
O God, we pray thee for our sisters who are leaving the ancient shelter of the home to earn their wage in the store and shop amid the press of modern life. Grant them strength of body to bear the strain of unremitting toil, and may no present pressure unfit them for the holy duties of home and motherhood which the future may lay upon them. And if it must be so that our women toil like men, help us to reverence in them the mothers of the future. Give them grace to cherish under the new surroundings the old sweetness and gentleness of womanhood, and in the rough mingling of life to keep the purity of their hearts and lives untarnished. Save them from the terrors of utter want. Teach them to stand by their sisters loyally, that by united action they may better their common lot. And to us all do thou grant wisdom and firm determination, that we may not suffer the women of our nation to be drained of strength and hope for the enrichment of a few, lest our homes grow poor in the wifely sweetness and motherly love which has been the saving strength and glory of our country.
There was a big meeting this Monday afternoon, and Mother and I went. My other sister, she didn't go like that one. They don't go anywhere like that. Well, anyhow, I got to laugh, I can't help it. Mother says, Whistleback, get your eyes black, Trinity. And I says, oh, I'm not afraid. But anyhow, we all went into the meeting. When it was finished, you know how the folks start to shout, and the front double doors were open. And I said, pull Mother, I said, come on, Mother, this way. I knew that way out, see. And we went that way, and when we got on, oh, the shouting and the booing. And I says, oh, I wonder what's up. I rushed to the corner of the building and I looked and I says, oh, it's Mr. Eliza Stinsley going home, mother. I said, come back, I says, he'll better give me the sack. I said, well, we got the sack now or something. We went to work, see, we were having union money. Well, anyhow, we kept waiting and when the strike stopped, when one or two of the workers went back, were you at that meeting down by Cradley Station? He asked one. They said yes. He says, well, I'm sorry, there's no work for you. They were stopped. He stopped ever such a lot of work.
The boss says he shouldn't pay 11 and 3pence. He says, you know what you get? Well, we worked hard before. We never killed time. And I'll give you what you get. We'd been out a month, and we'd had the 4 shillings for the week we was out, for the weeks we was out. And when I went back to work, I earned 14 and 6pence the first week. So that was better than the 11 and 3pence. It was very exciting when we reckoned.
The non-unionists seemed a serious difficulty in the way of victory, but the public response to the appeal for funds was so generous, nearly £4,000 being collected, that we were able to fight to a finish. And after 13 weeks' struggle, the women returned to work victorious, every employer in the district having signed the white list.
It was much better, and I think even the bosses seemed better, as was frightened to pay the wages. They seemed to get along better. And get along better with us, you know. They'd talk with you. Before we was frightened at them when we worked for 6 shillings, but when I got 14, they was all right with us. They must have been better off themselves. They carried on. Oh, she made that strike. She put that right. She made it better for us. She changed everything for us. She was the best woman that ever came. I should think she was if she doubled their wages and above.
She was one of God's angels.
They were looking after the poor people, and it takes a good lot to look after poor people today.
There was a general election in 1919, was it? I think it was 1919. Well, when Mary MacArthur, she put up, there was J.W. Wilson and the Tory member, I don't know who he was, candidate. But anyhow, Mary MacArthur put up as a socialist, I think it was. But anyhow, she was the bottom of the poll. That's after all the good work she had done for the Chainmakers.
I think it was the hardest job as anybody could go to. It was proper slavery. But as time went on and we had a rise, and then they didn't do so many hours, things got a bit better. And the women got on top a bit after, and they know they could get it.
Blow no bellers till you win the fight, ensuring pay that is your due. Now a trade board is created, see your pain and death abated, and the sweaters was checkmated, Parliament's decree. Rouse your wing.
Don't think of the empire on which the sun never sets. Think of the wage that never rises.
Rouse, shake off the fears that